Good morning, everybody. Happy Sunday. I hope you all are well and rested and prepared and ready to learn about God this morning and about Jesus and what He's done for us. So, over the past 2 weeks, we have been talking about Jesus and how He died on the cross, and 3 days later, He rose from the dead, and He is now in heaven with His Father. So, we celebrated that and it's called Easter, and I know you guys are all super familiar with it because it just happened. But what's really cool is even though we celebrate that one time a year, everywhere in the Bible we see how it reflects and points to Jesus dying on the cross for us. So as we go back to the Old Testament today and read from the Jesus Storybook Bible, we can still see how Jesus is in this story, even though he's not specifically talked about. So that's the really cool thing. Even though we celebrate Easter one time a year, it doesn't matter where we are in the Bible or what we're studying, we can see Jesus in it. So that's why it's called the Jesus Storybook Bible, right? So if you have this book, pause this video and go get it, and we will be reading the story called A Little Servant Girl and the Proud General. It is on page 136, so if you would like to join me in that, you can go do that. But now I'm going to start reading this story with you guys this morning, and after that, you can be with your family and go over the discussion questions and do a little craft that I'll show you after this story. So, let's get started. Naaman was a very important man in a very important army of a very important country. So you see, he was very, very important. But Naaman was sick. He had leprosy, which is a nasty thing that stops you from feeling anything. Bits of you fall off without you noticing, like bashed fingers and squished toes. It might sound funny, but it wasn't. And Naaman certainly wasn't laughing. There was no cure. It never went away, and in the end, it killed you. Naaman needed help. Now there was a little slave girl who worked for Naaman, and she knew someone who could help him. But there was a problem. Naaman was her enemy. Not long before, Naaman had led an army raid on her home in Israel. He had killed her whole family, carried her off to Syria, and made her into his slave. Every night, she cried herself to sleep. She had lost everything. Why would she, of all people, want to help Naaman? Didn't she hate him and want to hurt him back? Didn't she want to make him pay for the wrong he'd done? That's what you would expect. But instead of hating him, she loved him. Instead of hurting him back, she forgave him. I want Naaman to get well, she said to her mistress. There's a man in Israel called Elijah who can heal him. I'll go, said Naaman, loading up his wagon and putting on his flashing armor. But I'll go to the palace because that is where someone important like me gets healed. So he hurried off to Israel and went straight to the king. My healing, please, he announced. I can do lots of things, the king replied, but only God can heal. Just then a message from Elisha arrived. Send Naaman here, it read. So Naaman hurried off to Elisha's house, but Elijah didn't even come out and greet him. He just sent a servant instead. Doesn't Elijah realize who I am? Naaman thought. But what the servant said next made him even crosser. Wash in there, he said. Just wash? Naaman laughed. In that slimy, stinky river? He looked around to see if there was some kind of joke. It wasn't. Any person can wash in a river, he thought. I am Naaman. I am important, and I should do something important so God will heal me. And he rode off in rage. Of course, you and I both know that's not how God does things. All Naaman needed was nothing. It was that one thing Naaman didn't have. God knew that Naaman was even sicker on the inside than he was on the outside. Naaman was proud. He thought he didn't need God. His heart didn't work properly. It couldn't feel anything. You see, Naaman had leprosy of his heart. God not only going to heal Naaman's skin, he was going to heal his pride. Naaman finally agreed to wash in the river, and instantly his skin became smooth like a baby. Naaman wanted to pay Elijah. God healed you. You can't pay, Elijah said. It's free. And so it was that a very sick man was healed, all because of a little servant girl who forgave him. God knew sin was like leprosy. It stopped his children's hearts from working properly, and in the end, it would kill them. Years later, God was going to send another servant to forgive, as she did, to forgive all of God's children and heal their terrible sicknesses in their hearts. Their hearts were broken, but God can mend broken hearts. Okay, we're going to stop there. So something simple that you can do as a family, as an activity, you can get a blank piece of paper and draw a heart on it with a red marker or whatever color you want. And then draw leprosy on your heart. And as we learn from the story, this leprosy represents sin that's on our heart. We also have pride. We also tell lies. There's a lot that we do that God commands us not to do. And unfortunately, we have a heart of leprosy too, just like Naaman did in the story. So what's really cool though is when Jesus came and died on the cross, that was for our hearts. It's so that he could wash away our sins. So when we ask for forgiveness, this is what God sees. He sees a pure heart because his son took that sacrifice for us. So as a family, if you can do this and talk about what is on your hearts right now that isn't good, but then emphasizing that that's okay because once we ask for forgiveness, this is what God sees. If you want to do that, go ahead and then finish with the discussion questions that is on the PDF file, and you can discuss as a family. And I hope that you can pray together and just thank God for this time and the stories that he tells and represents his love for us. So enjoy Sunday, and I will maybe see you next week. Bye.